Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix. Welcome to Closet Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Paddington from 2014, and it's about 1 hour and 31 minutes long. And the movie starts with a black and white movie, an expedition to the darkest of Peru, where an explorer finds these intelligent bears. They soon learn to adapt to the British culture. And then cutting to current day, where the bears are celebrating the Marmalade Day, I think. So Paddington, not yet called Paddington by the way, and his Aunt Lucy and his uncle, they're making marmalade. And the uncle make this funny remark about always having an emergency marmalade sandwich under your hat, which will become important later on in the movie. So yeah, later that night there is an earthquake, and it seems that the uncle perished in it. So Paddington travels to London, and Aunt Lucy stays behind at like a bear care eldritch facility. So Paddington traveled to London, and via a mailbag he ends up in Paddington Station, and he's picked up by a family called the Browns, and they eventually give him the nickname Paddington because Paddington Station, where he was found, I guess. Excuse me. And the dad is a little bit grumpy about it because he doesn't really want to adopt a bear, but the mom of the family is really caring, and she actually let him in. So there's a funny scene where Paddington is trying to freshen up from the trip, and he makes a mess out of it, but he gets to stay in the attic until further notice. So the main thing about Paddington is trying to find this famous explorer for some reason, and that's what the family is trying to help them out. So they're cutting to a lady in a museum, and she is the daughter of this famous explorer, and she actually wants to get Paddington to make a taxidermy of him because that's what you do. There's some backstory behind the whole thing, but it's kind of crazy. If you have an intelligent bear that can actually speak English and whatnot, don't you really want to learn or like get as much information out of it instead of just stuffing it up like a dead animal? I don't know why it probably has like a deeper backstory to it. And then cutting to the Browns again, and they're supposed to go to this Gruber's antique shop. And I remember this because I had the cassette tapes where you have like stories on them, like short stories on them. And for some reason there is this very nosy neighbor called Mr. Curry, and I remember him from the tape as well. He's really annoying, a bit of an asshat if you don't mind my language. And then there is some commotion, and Paddington runs after a thief that stole a wallet, and he managed to capture him, but it was all a mistake because he believed he dropped his wallet. So yeah, he gets hailed as a hero, and then cutting to the museum lady again. She's looking through some security tape from Paddington Station to figure out where Paddington actually went. And then Paddington takes a bath, and he gets his signature coat, and then the museum lady is torturing the cab driver that drove Paddington and his family back to their home previous. Yeah, torture him for information. Then Mr. Brown and Paddington goes to an archive, and this is kind of a cool scene. It reminded me a lot of Harry Potter. It is like this two switching system. So they go there to find more information about the explorer and where he might be at, because that's the place where Paddington is supposed to stay. Because the Browns doesn't really like him that much, or at least the dad does. But there's this funny scene where the dad actually dresses up as a cleaning lady, and one of the security guards kind of hits on him, and it's kind of, it's kind of cringe, but also kind of funny. And he fakes a broken arm thing too. It's kind of funny. But they managed to recover some film, and they watched the tape from the beginning of the movie about the explorer, and that makes Paddington reminisce about how things used to be, because his home was destroyed in the earthquake and he left everything behind basically. And then the museum lady is on her way to Paddington's house because she figured he was there, and Paddington is left alone by himself. And there's like this Mission Impossible scene where the woman tries to catch Paddington, but somehow in his clumsiness he managed to knock her out. So Paddington gets blamed for all the mess that's been happening to the house, but it's actually the crazy museum lady. And then the Paddington kind of leaves and try to figure out where to go by himself, but he's picked up by the crazy taxidermy kind of girl. And it's kind of weird because it's kind of a dark humor thing because she has like this van, and when the door is kind of closed, it just spells like taxi, but when you close it, it spells taxidermy, and a little bit of dark humor there. So during this thing, Mr. Curry, the neighbor, has had a crush on this crazy museum lady because he doesn't have a lot going on in his life, but you know, you can't blame a guy for trying. So he figures out that she's supposed to stuff this intelligent bear, and he calls the Browns to basically inform them what's happening. And the family figures out what's happening and try to go save Paddington. But Paddington, as I said, get captured, and the family just tries to save him, basically. So then there is a chase, and the Browns and Paddington reunite on the roof. But they're also confronted by the museum lady, and Paddington uses his emergency sandwich that he kept in his hat all this time, and he flings it at the lady, and all the pigeons on the roof kind of flock to that location. And I think she's called Mrs. Bird, the housekeeper. She has been distracting the security guards downstairs by drinking him under the table with heavy whiskey, which is kind of a funny scene. But she opens a hatch to the roof and knocks the lady out, so she clings to a flagpole, and that's pretty much the ending of the movie. So the family ends on making like a marmalade. Just make marmalade because they're one big happy family now. And it ends with a snowball fight, and the bad lady gets what she deserves in the end. So what do I think about Paddington from 2014? It's a good kids movie, and I enjoyed it too. It got me reminiscence of the good old days when I listened to cassette tapes about the Paddington character over and over and over again, probably driven my grandma and mom and dad to insanity, but I liked it. And it's something about the I was just gonna say it, like it's referenceable to the Harry Potter series as well. There's something British about Paddington, just the name in itself. I mean, for all that I care, the Harry Potter character might just have traveled past like Paddington Station on his way to the Hogwarts train or whatever. But I like this movie a lot, and yeah, I think I can recommend it because it has like some grown-up humor as well. I don't think that kids will get the sad character that is Mr. Curry, but I mean, you can't help feel bad for the guy. You know, he's like, you know, this loner, and all he do is spy on his neighbors, but he wants to, you know, just meet someone. And when he finally meets a girl, it's actually she's just using him to get to this talking bear and, you know, crushing his feelings, but he's like a good guy in the end. And I ended up rooting for the creepy bastard in the end as well. But yeah, sure, I can recommend this movie. It's kind of good. If it's on TV, watch it. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.